So, is he a narcissist or just a jerk? Find out on this episode of the Enough Already podcast. And welcome to the Enough Already podcast. This is the show for consultants and coaches who want to forge their own paths to success in their careers and their lives. I'm your host, Betsy Jordyn. I am a personal branding mentor and I'm a messaging strategist. And I am so excited to bring on the show Chuck DeGroat. So I need to confess something to you all. You all think that I have left Disney to start my own business, and that was my trajectory, but that's not necessarily true. I happened to go to seminary in between those two things, and my absolute favorite professor of all time was Chuck. And Chuck was so interesting. We had many classes together where he taught me about the intersection between psychology and theology, and we explored the world of the Christian mystics and had many, many, many conversations about our shared passion for transformation and the hero's journey. And he does so many different things. So he's a therapist, he has soul care intensives, and he's an author. And he's an expert on narcissism, which is a major issue that we face as consultants and coaches, especially when we're dealing with narcissism in the C-suite and the senior position. So he has a whole book on how to deal with that. And he's an expert on trauma and so many other things. So I'm so excited to have him on the show. And I could keep going on and on and on about gushing about him. So I'm not going to do that anymore. So just welcome to the show, Chuck. I'm so thrilled to have you here.
Yeah, it's so good. It's been what, 20 years or so since we saw each other last?
It seems like that. I think it was like 2008 or 7 or
Okay.
something along
We're
those
getting there.
lines.
We're climbing up there to 20 years, and you and I both experienced so much in those years, and it probably changed so much, but it's so good to see you. I'm a lot more gray than you saw me last time. So
Well, that's because you're a dude. Underneath this hair, you would see all my gray. At least I got
yeah,
color, I have the
yeah, right.
opportunity.
I hear you.
So there's so many things I want to explore with you on the show, but I really want to talk about narcissism at the beginning, just because this is such a hot topic. People are talking about narcissism left and right all the time. You see it on social media, and anytime somebody's sort of self-centered, they're like, you're a narcissist. If somebody's an influencer and they take a selfie, it's like, you're a narcissist. But I'm thinking that there's something more to narcissism. So like tell me a little bit about like what is narcissism and how is it different than just like someone being a jerk?
Yeah, well, it's such a good question. And, we typically in my world, in the therapeutic world, go immediately to the DSM-5, which is the kind of the Bible for psychologists, where you'll find things like entitlement and attention seeking, grandiosity, a lack of empathy. And I think those things are helpful. Uh, but, my work with narcissists over the years, I've, and I've written on this. I've seen different shades of narcissism, what I call the many faces of narcissism. What I just described in entitlement, attention seeking, grandiosity, lack of empathy, really centers more on that classic grandiose narcissist that people are so familiar with, the political leaders, the celebrities that are sort of out and about, front facing, on stage, look at me. But narcissism is a lot more complicated than that. There are the more outward-facing narcissists, but there are narcissists that are maybe even a bit more introverted and self-denying, and so it's I came up with something called the 9 faces of narcissism using the Enneagram. I don't know how familiar your listeners are with the Enneagram. I'm sure some are, and others might say, "What kind of is that? The horoscope? What was he talking about here?" But it's been important for me over the years to look at it through the lens of 9 different ways that narcissists can show up in the world.
So you're talking, so then I did have an episode on the Enneagram. So for those who are listening, you can go back and I did an episode on the Enneagram with Sarah Wallace, last year. So what you're saying is it's like based on your Enneagram type, it could be a different flavor of narcissism, if you will. So if you're like a 1 who's more of a perfectionist, your narcissism will look different than a 2 who's more of a codependent.
Yeah, yeah. So think about it for a moment. And I think you just named it. I mean, there's the kind of lawyerly perfectionism of the 1, right? Which might not be quite as attention seeking or might not look like the sort of the success drivenness of a 3. There's the intellectualism of the five, the kind of stodgy, distant, disconnected guy in his head. That's what I picture. I picture couples I've seen in marital counseling where he's sitting there next to her taking notes on on a pad or something like that, just completely disconnected and up in his head. There's the power and the grandiosity of the eight. There's the kind of visionary idealism of the seven. There's kind of the introverted martyrdom that you might see in some fours. There's a very different look to some four. I'm a four, so I know a little bit about that. We might not be as much on stage, but we might be sort of behind the scenes, experience a bit of self-pity because we are not on stage like someone else is. There's a deep kind of flavor of envy with the four. And yet we may be just as self-consumed. And so there are different looks to narcissism. And I think that's what's important. It's not merely kind of the face of grandiosity.
So what's the difference between, we were talking about the Enneagram. So the Enneagram, what I really love about that tool is it talks about like, here's your attributes in the light, here's your attributes in the shadow,
Yeah.
or the areas. But is there something different with someone like, let's say, has a narcissistic personality disorder that's not just somebody operating the shadow, but is there some other type of motivation that's driving it that's a little different than, you're just not mature in this particular area?
Yeah, I think in some ways, it's the extent of the immaturity. There are a couple of early sort of Enneagram theorists who talked about not the nine types of the Enneagram, but nine levels of development, from healthy development to radically unhealthy development. That was, I remember first seeing that back in 2000 or so, and getting a sense of, oh wow, this says a lot about human pathology and the different diagnoses that we see in the DSM. And I remember seeing some of those diagnoses there, but in my work, particularly going all the way back to the late 90s with women who'd experienced emotional, spiritual abuse, sexual abuse, and oftentimes narcissistic husbands, what I remember seeing was this dynamic showing up in each and every one of the numbers. So it is this sort of shadow side, this underdeveloped side of people. And what the Enneagram helps us understand is our story to some
Mm-hmm.
extent, how we are the way we are today because of the things that, happen to us and how we internalize those things. And so, each and every one of the Enneagram types reflects a different kind of persona or mask in the world. And the mask of, let's say, the Enneagram 2, which a friend of mine calls the benevolent narcissist, looks a little bit different than the mask of the Enneagram 6, which is more of the hypervigilant and anxious narcissist, right? And so um, there is, in a sense, a different underbelly. But what we see in narcissism is a kind of the mask becomes the only self they know, if that would make sense to your listeners.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you get to know them and you try to pursue something more, it's like they don't reveal anything more because it's like, well, this is me. And I know that that's not all of who they are, but they learned at a very early age. The mask is the only side of me that I'm going to reveal to the world because it's too painful to reveal the rest of me. And so they live in a kind of fortress. They're walled up. I'd say in one sense, other parts of them are walled behind this persona that they live with out in the world that looks like, the achievement drivenness of a three or the visionary idealism of a seven, etc.
So sounds like you're talking a little bit about internal family systems, where you said like the other parts are sort of like behind the gate, and this
Yeah,
is in the front. So
yeah,
what happens to the other? So could you just explain like the internal family systems and how this all
yeah,
relates? Like who's behind the gate and who's in front? Like, is this a protector or is
yeah.
this an exile? Like who's just, I'll let you
Yeah, the
explain
part,
that.
yeah. So what you're saying is really important, and the reality is that there are parts of us that show up at different times in life, in certain circumstances, and there are other parts that are kind of hidden and behind the scenes. The part of me that shows up, let's say now in my current work at a faculty meeting, he's going to look a little bit more competent and put together. It's probably not going to be the me you see me the me that you'd see on like a late Friday night in my pajama pants. drinking a martini or something like that, right? And so there are different parts of us that show up in different ways. Well, what ends up happening with narcissistic personality disorder is that there's generally some sort of profound wound, abuse early on in life that leads a person to unwittingly choose to live out of a very guarded and protective part of themselves. We call that a protector in internal family systems. And so the protector becomes the only version of themselves that they know. And it's sort of like they leave behind more vulnerable parts of them that carry sadness, shame, fear, even anger. Um, and so part of my work as I do this kind of counseling is to invite them to see the complexity of who they are. There's much more. There's shame underneath that we're going to have to take a look at and and work with for us for you to become whole.
So I think that it's important that, for people who are outside, it's like, I like how you're bringing up like the things that you do and understanding their story, but it's also like being on the other side, like people need to figure out like, well, how do I navigate? Like when I think about like one of my absolute worst client situations. So as a consultant, I was working with a client and I knew that this was not going to be a very good engagement because just the way that he was negotiating with me, demanding that I just reduce my prices and
Mm-hmm.
I was earlier in my career. I'm like, fine, I'll do that. I'll never do that again. But there were all these signs. Like I knew he was going to be a horrible client. And when I got into the work, he just undermined me at every single turn. Like he undermined me and gaslit me all the time. It's like, oh no, you said this. It's like, no, we didn't, or there was all of this like confusing
Yeah,
stuff. And you saw the dynamic on the team. So like there is something about like the compassion, but like what are the signs? Like, especially when you're dealing with the lack of empathy, the dominance, and maybe they have their own little flavors
yeah.
of how they get there and the gaslighting. Like, how would you, like, if you're somebody working with that kind of person, so let's say that person's your boss or that person's in charge of your
Yeah.
organization, what in the world do you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was teasing it out in a way that I might as a therapist when I'm trying to pursue kind of the depths of the story. But if you're under someone like this, say you're working in a business and this is your CEO or the person you directly report to, it's painful, and chances are you're not probably not going to have the same kind of macro level perspective that I have or compassionate stance, and you probably don't need to either. If you're being impacted in a way that's harmful and abusive, uh, the first thing that I tell people is it's really important for you to get your own care. Oftentimes, people write to me all the time about this to say, should I confront my boss? Should I write a letter, an email, or something like that? And I'm like, no, 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 no. Just step back because that's probably going to blow up. Um, why don't you get your own care first? Let's talk about how this is impacting you. And I work with people like this all the time. It's really important if you've been in any kind of abusive relationship, and I've been in multiple abusive relationships and organizations. I lost my first job because I confronted a narcissist. And that had ramifications for other work and my reputation, and because I continue to be gaslit even after that. Uh, Now I know better. And what I probably should have done was to step back and process this with someone who understood the dynamics of narcissism, understood maybe even some of the trauma that I was absorbing in my body. Like it's really important. Oftentimes when I do this work with people who are being harmed, abused, they'll say, yeah, I get these headaches. I don't sleep at night. My
Mm-hmm.
stomach's constantly churning. I'm crying all the time. I don't want to get out of bed. Let's attend to that before we get to confronting the narcissist.
Well, this is interesting. So I was going to ask you, like, what are the signs to spot, like, how do you know there's a narcissist? And, you mentioned that there's a lot of different flavors, but I wonder if the answer to the question is spot it within yourself. Are you not
Mm.
sleeping well? Are you feeling crazy?
Yes.
Are you like, because you'll know if you're around somebody who's reasonable, like you could have a conversation with somebody that you're not, but maybe the signs are not what you see, but it's
Yeah.
what you feel and what you
Yeah.
experience that will tell you everything that you need to know if you're in the presence of a narcissist.
That's so good. That's so important. And what you're doing, I think, in saying that, Betsy, is like validating people who are experiencing these things. I think any one of us who know the experience of working for someone who's abusive knows some element of being cut off from our own bodies and emotions. Like we start to gaslight ourselves, and we might
Mm-hmm.
even justify it. I'm too sensitive. I'm making a big deal out of this. I shouldn't complain so much. It has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with me. We get cut off from our bodies and from our emotions. And so at least part of it is beginning to take um, some of the data that we're getting from our bodies seriously. You and I were talking beforehand about the great book, The Body Keeps the Score, a really important one that I think has helped us understand how trauma gets locked in our bodies. And so you're spot on. We've got to notice what's happening within us.
And I think about going back in time with that one particular client, or, like I've been in narcissistic relationships, and in a romantic standpoint, and the signs, like you could tell, like the signs were there, but it's just like you gaslight yourself out of it. It's like, well, I want to believe the best. Like with that particular client, I knew from the negotiation that this was not going to be somebody that respected me, and it was somebody who was going to try to control it, but I didn't listen to myself, and I think about every horrible client
Yeah.
situation is it all started during the contracting situation. Yeah, all the signs were there when I was negotiating with them, but I just didn't trust
Yeah.
it. Like, why do we gaslight ourselves? Like, why do we talk ourselves out of what we see?
Yeah, I mean that's I think that's what we need to tease out with our therapists when we start to do this work, with a mentor, a friend, a spiritual director, someone who understands trauma really. And that oftentimes goes back to our own stories. I grew up in a home where my emotions weren't really seen, known, validated in particular kinds of ways. And so I became an adult who wasn't in tune with what was happening within. It's not to blame my parents or anything like that, but I realized I was kind of set up for this. And so as I began to pay attention, uh, I was able to kind of shift from a posture of gaslighting myself to a posture of, ouch, this hurts. This
Mm-hmm.
really, really hurts. And okay, so now I need to decide, what do I want to do about that? Well, first I want to begin to heal these wounds within, and then I may need to make a decision about whether or not I stay in the company, or whether or not there is a process. Maybe there are other people. I know, there have been, as you know, many different stories that have come out about uh, small churches and large churches, let alone organizations and institutions in the religious world, where there have been narcissistic leadership. And I remember talking to a group of people, a group of women in particular, who their stories went back decades. Like they were saying to themselves, like, we literally have been in this for what the longest was, I think, 27 years. And the tears that came with that, but also that shift from um, denying what they were experiencing and gaslighting themselves to, no, ouch, this really hurts, and I will not allow this to continue to happen.
I think the other part, though, that makes it even more hard to validate, though, is because the narcissist person usually has a charismatic personality of some kind where they're like everybody likes them, or the public
Yeah.
persona is attractive. Like I remember, like I did church consulting. So one of my early, when I was a new consultant, I was consulting actually with a couple different churches at the same time, and one of them was a mega church. And this pastor like was put up on this pedestal. Like I couldn't walk with him from one side of the parking lot to the other without everyone's like, Pastor, 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 Pastor. And they
Mm.
elevated him like, oh, he doesn't struggle like other people.
Yeah.
And it is not surprising, like a few years later, all kinds of stuff came out about him. But it's like, I wonder sometimes it's like this cult of celebrity is like we put them up on
Yeah.
the pedestal and then they start believing their PR and there's all these other people. And then you wonder, like, well, what's wrong with me? Everybody
Yeah.
else seems to love them because they kind of surround themselves with this harem. And it's this
Yeah.
crazy making scenario. So I
Yeah.
wonder, like, what's the dynamic of like we treat our executives like somebody's in a CEO and it's like, oh, you can do no wrong. And, we worship them. And then we wonder why they believe the
Yeah.
PR.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a man named Gerald Post who did some writing on the dynamic between the narcissist and the follower. And he said, the narcissist is mirror hungry. In other words, the audience becomes the mirror. The people in his life become the mirror. Feed me, feed me, feed me. Tell me what I need to hear. But the follower is ideal hungry, which is to say, there are certain needs met for security, for belonging, for some sense of power amidst maybe some sense of disempowerment. And this is, by the way, not to in any way blame victims of narcissists, but it is for us. And I had to do this work. It wasn't to say it was your fault, Chuck, but it was to say there were particular needs that were being met for me when I had attached myself to a narcissistic leader. Um, and the reality is that sometimes we've seen this play out in any number of different situations across churches and organizations, corporations. Sometimes you begin to look like the narcissistic leader. And so I had to ask myself, in my plugging into him for a sense of identity, belonging, security, power, purpose, how did I even begin to look like him? So it does involve some humbling work on ourselves.
Well, and also to understand like what's the like where those hooks are. Because like sometimes like with some people, who go into a work situation, it's like, well, that person's kind of a jerk narcissistic leader. I'm out of here. And then there's the other ones like, I could change him. I'm going to work alongside. I'll give coaching. I'll confront him. And
Yeah,
that like those are two different dynamics because one person has boundaries and the other person doesn't. And you got to
yeah,
explore like, well, why is this so hard for you? Like I had to explore that for myself. Like
yeah,
one of the things I recently discovered is I'm a HSP. I'm a highly sensitive person.
yeah. Same.
And oh, you are. Oh,
Oh,
welcome.
yes. Oh, yeah.
I didn't my whole life made sense. Like I need to do a whole podcast on this one. Like my whole life makes sense. Like I understand and I'm an INFJ.
Yeah.
And as with my personality, I'm the most overrepresented to be in narcissistic relationships. Like, and now I see my entire consulting career trying to save these narcissistic leaders one after the other. I'm like, what was I like? My whole dysfunction is like coming into light, where like protecting myself was just not my thing,
Yeah.
like learning how to get that second skin. So, like, what are some tips? Like, when you think about, like, not everybody's
Yeah.
wired like you and I, but like, what are tips that we have to guard ourselves and to kind of like, grow that extra set of, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know the right word because I wouldn't,
Yeah. No, I hear that. And as a fellow HSP and INFJ, which is interesting, right? I've found myself in similar situations. And what I notice is, just by way of what are tips? My question is, what might you notice about what's happening within you as you're in relationship with someone who's narcissistic, or you're trying to fix or rescue? Think about the spouse who's married to a narcissistic husband, and she's just wanting to do everything she can. I mean, I just want to see the best in him, and I want to believe that he can be different and believe that he can be better. Well, I've done that as a therapist and a consultant, and what I begin to notice is that I deny really important needs in myself when I'm in that space. And I get really exhausted and unhealthy, and I feel it in my body. I literally
Mm-hmm.
become a shadow of myself. And so, what you need to begin to notice is your own unhealth. And once again, it's important to have people in your life. I remember, being with a therapist in 2008, 2009, when I was beginning to make sense of this. The attention really turned from the narcissistic leader to what was happening within me. And for 2 years it was like, we're going to solely focus on how to get you healthy, Chuck. And so
Right.
that's really hard when when your proclivity, like ours might be, is to want to rescue, or where we feel our own sense of like, maybe there's a bit of grandiosity there too. I know there has been for me, where it's like, okay, well, I've been doing this for a while. I'm the one who can save this marriage. I'm the one who can get through to this narcissistic leader.
Well, like where I see it, like in my dysfunction is what makes me really great as a personal branding person is I see the idealism, I see the potential.
Yeah.
But I struggle with seeing the truth. Like when, like we talk a lot about like the downward journey, that you have to like to all
Mm,
die to your false self so the real self would rise. Is like I go through this journey, it's like dying to this idealism, like has been the hardest death of all. Is that like I can't live in my little Pollyanna bubble that everybody has great intentions,
mm,
and everybody doesn't, like you have to believe it's like it's not about believing the best, it's about believing the truth and
mm,
being diligent about believing the truth. And when the cognitive dissonance comes between you say this and you're acting like that and there's a disconnect, like my go-to is like, well, obviously it's my fault that's creating this disconnect, or if I could just tell them this information in the best way. But some of it is they don't really, and not everybody has like the best motives in the whole world, and you kind of like
mm,
have to operate in a place of like, I'm going to be of faith and I'm going to be of, of protection at the same time, not like the dysfunctional protection, but I'm going to protect
Yeah.
my sensitive heart at all costs. It's a really hard
Yeah.
place to get to if you're, especially like my audience, they're probably all similar. We're consultants and coaches. We want to help people. We're helpers. We want to make a difference. So how do we do, like, does it just go back to the validation of just like, I just live in this reality of it may not be this way, so I got to guard my heart at all costs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. In systems work, we talk about self-differentiation, right? And there is that sense in which we need to notice how parts of us are hooked into saving, rescuing, fixing, analyzing, um, all of those things that we tend to do when we're living these insane, upwardly mobile lives, and somewhat egocentric lives, themes that I know that you've talked about before. We've got to notice, okay, so what parts of me feel like, have run ahead of me? And there's another part of this conversation that we haven't had that's important. It implicates our autonomic nervous system, our sympathetic system. I call it the sympathetic storm. And it's our body in this kind of chronic sympathetic storm, like the gas pedal down, go, 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 go. And it's a recipe for depletion. Like in the short run, maybe in your 20s, your early 30s, there's some ladder climbing, you're running on a lot of sympathetic energy, but after a while, it's like my body is not gonna keep doing this. I can't keep up, and that's when we hit the wall. And of course, in your work, talking about how our egos are implicated in that, and the beautiful journey of downward mobility, where we find ourselves again and we find a new sense of authenticity. I mean, I think this is that's why I'm so glad you do this work that you do, and you speak about these things more broadly, because everyone at some level can relate to that, how we push, 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 living in chronic sympathetic storm and hit some sort of wall.
Yeah, and we get overly identified with like these protections, I think become our identity. Like
Yeah.
I'm a helper. I'm like, well, no, that's not my helper. Actually in my Enneagram, I'm supposed to go from the helper to the four, which is in the spotlight, which is like the worst thing.
Mm.
I went to this workshop the other day, or like last year, on becoming a speaker. And they're all like putting the camera on and everyone's like dancing, and it's like, when do you want to be on the stage? Like, when did you know you wanted to be on the stage? I'm like, never. Like hiding behind everything else is great, but when they put the camera on me, I literally fled and hid, and they all laughed at me. I'm like, this is obviously, like I'm meant to move into these spaces, but I'm not necessarily. And so I think like when it comes to like the narcissism in the workplace, like at some point going through the signs of like what's going on with you, what are you, maybe it's like it's not about like looking at it like, oh, my boss has this trait, this thing. Maybe
No.
there's some stuff that you could find online that will validate it for you from a cognitive standpoint,
Yeah.
but dial into your own feelings on it.
Yeah.
And I imagine if you're a consultant or coach and you're going into a system that has led by a narcissistic leader, you
Yeah.
probably will see the symptoms in the people more than in the leader themselves. Like that will be
Yeah.
your smoking gun. Like what would be the signs in
Yeah.
the system?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, I think you're spot on, and I think someone might go to to Google and type in, what does a narcissist look like, and they're going to see things like grandiosity and entitlement, and they might say to themselves, well, that's not exactly how my boss is. Um, my boss is kind of, maybe the boss is a nine, a
Mm-hmm.
peacemaker, but maybe it's a quiet anger. Suzanne Stabile talks about the nines who store up arrows in their quiver. Maybe it's a sort of silent, passive aggressive, a kind of narcissist whose anger comes out comes out sideways, right? Okay, well, you're not going to find that in a dictionary definition of narcissism, but you're going to find people, now to talk about the system, tiptoeing around this person. You're going to find people triangulating, the things that typically happen in systems when people, don't feel like they can be themselves, right? And so they're going to be enmeshed with others. They're going to begin to cope in ways that are unhealthy. They're going to triangulate with people and tell stories that reveal some of their own fears, but they're never going to be able to share that with the CEO, for instance. And so you're going to be able to see in the system some of the ways in which people are coping and compensating And there again, um, you can come back full circle to how it's showing up in the narcissist, but just pay attention to how it's showing up in the body or in the system first.
But there's still something about like, okay, someone could be passive aggressive because I've been around passive aggressive people and then
Yeah,
I've been around passive aggressive narcissists and they're just not the
yeah,
same.
not the
Like
same.
like the motivation is different. It just feels like
Yeah,
there with the narcissistic system that, there is probably even more of that firewall between
yep,
my true self and that
yeah,
one. But there's this profound lack of empathy where it's like I can't make decisions and there is all of the other crazy making
yeah,
type of like I'll be passive aggressive, but no, we never said that. Or, you never asked me to do that. Like there's all of that kind of stuff.
oh,
So
yeah,
when you're talking about like seeing it in the system where everyone is tiptoeing
yeah,
around somebody who kind of has that control thing, like there are extra
yeah,
signs versus like, wow, that person's passive aggressive and then everybody talks about him because there's a difference. Like if somebody's being a jerk in the workplace,
yeah,
everybody's going to go, all the employee. If you have a boss who's like passive aggressive and is just a basic jerk, all the teammates are going to talk about him anyway. Like I've been a corporate consultant enough. I
yeah,
just know they're all going to chit chat about him. But there's something different when you
yeah,
have somebody who's toxic like that. So what's
yeah.
the water cooler conversation and how is it different?
I think what you're experiencing then is more extreme nature of that person's power and control and how they're using it. And there's something about the nature in which they use their power, whether it's a power of a voice from a stage or the power of silence, that is profoundly intimidating. And it really, in some ways, takes away the voice of people who are around them. And so, it's not your garden variety passive aggressiveness, because I'd say that when we talk about narcissism, we talk about it on a spectrum. And when the highest elevations of narcissists are the least self-aware people. There will be semi-self-aware bosses, who might receive some feedback and try to change. But when we're talking about narcissistic personality disorder, we're talking about someone who's completely blind to their way of showing up. And with that, there's not just the kind of power control and intimidation, but there can be a cruelty to the ways in which they wield that power that people experience as well.
I had one leader though. He would stay straight out. Like when he was getting together with new employees, he's like, "I've got these eight fatal flaws." And then it was almost like, "But you can't confront me in any of them because I just said these are my eight fatal flaws." So
Yep.
they kind of like look like they were being like, "Oh, I'm so self-aware," but
Yeah.
there was an aggressive aspect to it. Like you better not confront me, and I better get grace
Yeah.
because I've already told you these are my eight fatal flaws.
That's a new flavor of narcissism, that I call vulnerability, FAUX, vulnerability, phone vulnerability. Nowadays, you have people who are able to say, "Yeah, I'm an INFJ, I'm an ENFP, I've been in therapy for 10 years," and really demonstrate. I'm sure you see this all the time, demonstrate very little to no self-awareness, but they're using that. And I'm seeing this in, the ecclesial world, the church world a lot, where it's like, I've been going to therapy for a while, and I've been more vulnerable in my sermons and all these kinds of things. And yet, the way their behaviors continue to show up in the workplace reveals what's really going on. And so, yeah, I think that's so helpful, Betsy, what you just shared.
So let's say I'm an executive coach and I'm hired to coach this person. So I have somebody who's like really just wreaking havoc. I did the assessment, I see all of the implications. Do you were mentioning the in a previous scenario around like, oh, should I confront my boss? But it's like, well, what if you're hired to, as a coach, not necessarily as a therapist like you, but as a coach? Do you hold up the mirror for this type of behavior, or do you just try to get through the engagement and get out because you can't really do anything?
I think I think good coaches hold up a mirror, and I realize there are a lot of different kinds of schools of coaching and coaching styles. I have some friends who have done a bit more of the psychological work, even the Jungian work. They take that into coaching. They see their coaching as more transformationally oriented versus merely like outcome oriented, pragmatically oriented, right? And I do think that some of my friends in the coaching space would say, yeah, it's my job to bring that kind of honesty and to really lean in those kinds of ways. And so um, I I'm curious about your experience. You've been in the coaching world in a way that I've not been in the coaching world. What's your advice to an executive coach in that kind of scenario?
Well, the nice thing about you as an executive coach versus a direct report is you're not in the system, you're an observer of the system. So
Oh,
you have already just a layer of objectivity. And if
yeah,
you see it for what it is, just stay in your objective state. Like, just, if they're resistant or if they don't respond, it's like, well,
yeah,
that's not your monkeys, that's not your circus. I would say just do the best you can given the circumstances.
good.
But I would say that about anything when it relates to consulting or coaching. And I don't know if you experience this in the different kind of roles you have is, in my earlier part of my career, like I want to rescue everybody. Later on, I can't rescue anybody, and so it's like, it's just check your expectations of how far you can take somebody, and you're not going to save this system. And if their boss, if you're coaching somebody and their boss doesn't care, like if their boss likes the outcome and the behavior
Yeah,
doesn't matter, you just
yeah,
have to know that this coaching assignment's not really going to go all that far,
that's
and just
right.
manage your expectations. Like, do good work, because of your own integrity. Because I like, for me, I take it very seriously when I do like focus groups and employees entrust me with that feedback. And so I'm not going to hold back in talking to that leader, but I also have to manage my expectations. But I gotta stay in my objective zone. Like with that one client I was telling you about who is awful, where thank goodness for how bad he was, because that's when I decided to get really good at marketing. Is like my whole goal was like, I got to replace this guy. But,
Mhm.
I took it too personally.
Yeah,
And that's part of that work, is like go in, stay separate, but
yeah,
manage your expectations. You're not going to save these systems.
yeah. That's it. And I think, I the work that I had to do around that was when I don't come through in the ways that I think I should come through, I've fixed you, I've changed you. There's been radical transformation. What I had to trace that down to was a story of shame within me that was whispering, well, you stink, you're not worth it, you can't do the job. And I think any of us in this sort of helping space, whether it's counseling or coaching or spiritual direction, know some of that shame. We know those places where it's like, you know what, I'm a failure. I'll never be, I'm sure there are people listening to your podcast who are like, I'll just never be as good as Betsy is at this work. But we all, I mean, it's a human principle, right? It's inevitable that we all struggle at some level with shame, with feelings of worthlessness and insecurity. So how do we trace that back down and do our work around that so we don't show up next time having to fix or transform or in the ways that we've been talking about?
So I feel like we're kind of going to really the meta theme of your work, at least my experience of it, which is around wholeheartedness, and I think that that's kind of where you're going back to, is like, no matter what the triggers are in the system, every single thing that you experience is an opportunity to go more into your heart. And you do talk about wholeheartedness. Like, what do you mean by that? And how does that relate to, your interest? Because you also have a book on, dealing with loving the difficult people in your life. I forgot the exact name, but something about like,
Yeah,
and you have a couple books
yeah,
on loving difficult people and a couple books about like growing into your own wholeness.
yeah,
You got
yeah.
both
The
sides
whole the
going.
whole wholeheartedness may be an antidote to narcissism, because when we're talking about narcissism, or we're talking about any of these pathologies, in a sense, we're talking about a divided heart, a divided life. A part of me that has been large and in charge from an early age because of the wounds that I bore in my early story. And so the journey to wholeheartedness is really a journey of integration. That's the language that we use in the psychological world. We move from disintegration to integration. And so that requires a lot of vulnerability. You think about someone who's kind of lived a divided life, and this is all they've known. They've lived out of more self-protected, maybe powerful parts of themselves or perfectionistic parts of themselves. Imagine the perfectionist, the Enneagram One, and you and I are doing work with them, and we say to some degree, what the work that you're going to need to do is to embrace your own failures, your feelings of failure, your disappointments. Well, no, I want to be a perfectionist. This is the only self that I want to live out of. This is the me that I like. well, there's a journey that they're going to need to take into um, deeper inner regions of their soul and body to explore the parts of them that have been cut off, to remedy the division and disintegration within. And that's what I love about the work is when you see people beginning to make those connections. Um, they don't need to live out of perfectionism, control, achievement, hypervigilance, all these different kinds of ways that we live out of based on those Enneagram types. But we can embrace our humanness, our limitation, and that's the way of downward mobility to my mind. Is that shift from egocentricity to authenticity, where we're living from the depths of our own hearts with more honesty and more of a clear sense of purpose and call in the world. That's really beautiful. That's really fun, and that's what I live for in large part in the work that I do.
And I think this is where, like, the deeper meaning of my work, this is where we intersect. Is I believe like a high achiever who hits the top of their profession and wonders, like, okay, what is it for? Maybe they get laid off, or maybe they go through a health thing,
Yeah,
but all of it is that invitation into that interior journey, that downward journey into like self and because it's not like the career crossroads are not necessarily between like, should I have a business or should I just stay working? It's
yeah,
really around like, should I keep up this facade of who I think I should be based on what everybody's telling me? Or should I really discover who I am?
yeah,
That's the choice point. And that's why it's so hard is like, well, this I know, this protector thing has like been great. This is like, got me to this point in my career, and in my life, but I got to lose this so that all these other parts can flourish. You got to lose your identity as like
yeah,
whatever your corporate job was to let like the creative side come out or let the
yeah,
playful side or let the scholar let all the other parts of you come out and
yeah.
you got to like win over this trust of this protector or let go of it like how does this happen, like what do you do to what's the work?
That's a good question. We should do a whole other podcast on that because I mean, these protectors, these protected parts of us, we have to honor them. They have a story. I'm perfectionistic because I'm hypervigilant because I'm an achiever because it's inevitably connected to, a story that they've been living out of for a long, long time. Because if I didn't achieve, I'd be seen as a failure in my family because the Smiths always achieve. Because if I wasn't perfect, um, I'd experienced the anger or rage or wrath of my mother. And so that's the work is to kind of drill down beneath the waterline, so to speak, and get to those parts of us that have been exiled. And that's that. If you've lived your life, let's say you've lived 40 years of your life out of perfectionism, that might be tough. You might be pretty resistant to that work.
Yes. But then the other
Yeah,
part is like finding the exiles, like that's where all the gold is. Like there's
that is.
parts of you there's parts of you that you had when you were little. That's why I like to ask questions like around like one of my favorite branding questions is tell me about what you played with as a child. Like what was your favorite toy and
Yeah,
how did you play with it? Because that will tell me who you were before
yeah.
your wounds took over and created this other persona.
It's so good. That's such good work. Yeah, I love that. So there's this kind of return to innocence. I'm thinking of the work of David White, the poet David White, who says, we shift from innocence to experience, but the task is to find that original innocence, right? And those exiles, they just long to be seen and known and loved and embraced and brought into the present, so that we have that sort of youthful energy that you're talking about. Um, that childlike energy, not childish, developmentally
Mm-hmm.
regressive energy, but childlike energy. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
And I think that the protectors want to break. I don't think
Yeah.
I think they're tired.
Yeah. You know it. Yeah.
So they're like, okay, well, thank you. It's almost like the LEM module on Apollo 13. It's like, thank
Mhm.
you so much. You protected me for a while, but bye-bye.
Yep.
It was like that was great, but I just need to be in my rocket to actually go home because I wasn't
Yeah.
really designed to go to the moon in the LEM module. I don't know if that
Yeah.
analogy makes sense or not.
Yeah. 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 100%. Yep. Yeah.
So so tell me about what your I know you have a new book coming out. I know you have several
Yeah.
books. So if people want to get to your website, could you give me your website address? And then
Yeah.
you have like soul care intensives. Like can you tell us a little bit more about your world and what people can access to learn more from about you and engage in your work?
Yeah, I mean, the work that you're talking about, we're talking about, I do both as a therapist, but even more importantly, I think in a 5-day soul care intensive where, it's therapeutic, but there's also rest, refreshment. Um, it's really designed for someone to recover their heart and do the work, the transformative work that we're talking about. So that's a 5-day soul care intensive. You can find out more about that at my website, chuckdegroat.net. And so that's where some of my books are and soul care intensive information and things like that. The new book, again, thinking about our conversation over this last hour, is called Healing What's Within, coming home to yourself and to God when you're wounded, weary, and wandering. And so, healing what's within. Abuse is what happens to you. Trauma is what lingers on. Trauma is what happens within you, right? So how do we heal what's within? And how do we come home to ourselves when we often, particularly at midlife, when we've been climbing this exhausting ladder, feel so disconnected from ourselves? So that comes out October 10.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Put me on your wait list. I'm definitely going to be the first up
Thanks.
to buy it.
Thanks,
And
Betsy.
and and I love this embodied. Like we talked a little bit beforehand that it's like part of the coming home to yourself is also like there's an embodiment to the healing. It's not just like in your head or it's not just like the typical advice. It's more like how do you resolve the trauma from the inside out, like in every aspect, not just in your head.
That's it. And so there's chapter 3. I take it slow. And by chapter 3, I'm like, okay, now let's talk about your nervous system. And then let's shift to your attachment story. And now let's talk about the different parts of you. So yeah, we're doing some of that work in the book. Yep.
That's fantastic. Is there anything else that you want to tell me about narcissism or becoming whole or anything about integration? And I'm just not asking you the right question.
No, no, you've asked great questions. And I think my invitation to folks always is if you have any question, seek out someone who can help you tease out that question. Um, Chances are, if you write to me an email, I'm going to say the same thing because I don't know the particularities of the story, and so and a textbook definition or a Google definition might not help. Seek out someone who knows this territory, who knows narcissism, abuse, trauma, and these kinds of dynamics, and get some care. That's what I'd say.
That's awesome. I really just love the way you flip the whole idea. It's like instead of like looking to this person and their attributes, look to yourself and
Yeah,
find ways to heal yourself, and then the right decisions will present themselves. So
yeah,
I
that's
love
right.
that.
Yeah,
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show. This has just been a huge blessing to me. And
yeah.
for all of you who are listening, thank you so much. If you like episodes like this, be sure to hit subscribe wherever you're listening. And until next time, I just thanks for listening again. Thank you.